What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Build Assets Online. Another day. We got Joe here, but we also have a very special guest. Huge honor for me to have Michael Zenga, co-owner of BJJ Fanatics, on here. So, if you've ever listened to our podcast many times, I mentioned BJJ Fanatics, not just because I spent a lot of money on that website, but really the things that they do on their site to really increase conversions and their whole marketing system I've found very impressive as a customer. So yeah, it's been I'm excited to have him on and have him talk about his new book also. It's called The E-commerce Data Playbook. So that's on Amazon right now if you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, welcome on the show, Michael.
Thank you so much. And I can't say huge honor for me or the other guy who says it will sue me. That's not
Yeah,
true.
I had to just get that one
Okay,
off. But
I'm kidding. Great to be here, guys.
absolutely. So yeah, so for the people who don't know who you are, why don't you take us through, just a little bit about your background, how you wound
Sure.
up with BJJ Fanatics and kind of your role
Yeah.
there.
So I didn't have a real job for very long. I was someone who never really wanted a real job. I always wanted to work for myself somehow, some way. I worked in corporate America when I first got out of college a long time ago, but I was always gravitating towards starting my own stuff. And so I was able to save up some money. And I developed real estate for a long time, and that actually that's a pretty good business when things are going well. The thing that I really did not like about developing real estate was it was just inherently stressful, right? So let's say what I used to do is I would buy these three-family houses that were rented out as apartments, and it was a little bit of an arbitrage game where units sold as apartments would the units sold as condominiums. If you went through the process of converting them into their own units, there was a little bit of arbitrage. It was worth more as three parts in a building. Of the 3 unit apartment building was going to be worth it was going to be worth more to sell them as three individual units than it would be the sum as buy the apartment building. Okay, there was some cost and aggravation involved. And you'd want to fix it up, but for me, there was you could make a pretty good living doing that. The thing that I hated about it, one, that there was also a lot of there was a lot of market risk that was due to things I couldn't control. If the interest rates went up, the value of the properties could go down or they could sell a lot slower. The other thing being every single real estate transaction I've ever been involved with, there was a lot of stress. I mean, every deal that I was involved with almost falls apart once if it doesn't fall apart. And people are spending sometimes 10 times as much money as they even have because they're so leveraged on it. So they're just so nervous. I remember the first time I was selling a unit, lady came back for the final inspection. She said, "Oh my God, the floor is curved." It's like, lady, this is a 120-year-old building. It wasn't any less curved than when you signed. It wasn't anything less flat than when you signed the agreement to buy it. Oh my God, no, something's happened here since the deal would almost fall apart. So at a certain point, that started to grate on me, and I said, I want to start to get into businesses that have a lot lower ticket value, so there's a lot less stress involved in the transactions. So in order to go through the process of becoming a real estate developer, I became a licensed construction supervisor in Massachusetts, and I also became a licensed real estate broker. And through that, I went through the training to do the certification process, and I went to schools, and as I was in those schools, there were a lot of people. It seemed to be kind of profitable. And I said, how hard could this be? So I started with a business partner from high school, a guy who was one of my best friends in high school, still work with him now. Um, his name's also Mike. And we decided to open a real estate school. And then we said, you know what? In the same building, let's offer a construction school and helping people pass the exam. And you know what? We're already paying the rent, and I'm a gun enthusiast. Let's open a gun safety school. And so we had multiple schools. I think we had 4 schools at one time operating out of the same location, just because we're pooling the rent, and it became pretty profitable. And all of a sudden, we're making a half decent living. And I got my jiu-jitsu black belt in 2012. About 2013, 2013 or so, I said to my business partner, "Hey, I have this idea to start selling jujitsu goods. Maybe I'll start making videos with some of the stars. And for me, it was a way to meet the stars and get them free lessons. And Mike and I, we diverted some of the funds from our schools and we started making videos. And then I ran into Bernardo, and um, Bernard Faria is my business partner. He's one of the best guys who's ever done jiu-jitsu. And he was looking for something to do after his career was done. He was still actively competing. And we became fast friends, and we were talking, maybe there's something we could do together. And one thing led to another, and we started BJJ Fanatics or the company that became BJJ Fanatics in 2014.
Awesome. So when you started that company in 2014, you kind of instantly knew that you were going to be, let's say, leveraging or, the model that it currently is like, hey, we're going to have people come in, film instructionals. Were instructionals even a thing back then?
So they were. Well, we're certainly not the first people. We're certainly not the first people that ever recorded someone doing jujitsu, but it was never all on one site. And we actually did come up with the idea originally that we were going to sell instructionals. We started selling all kinds of BJJ gear, and we would do it in a daily deal format because it was a scarcity, almost like a Groupon type site. And
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just curious
sure,
from your where did you get, because I feel like the scarcity thing, that's kind of one of the first principles you learn when you're doing online marketing.
yeah.
Where did you learn that from your some of the past experience that you mentioned just now? Like were you reading books? Like what, how did you?
It's kind of interesting. I got really into the books Influenced by Robert Cialdini. I'm guessing you guys have read that.
I've read it, yeah.
If I had to say the seminal book that I've ever read, that's the best book for learning business, it would be that one. So I went to a couple of Dr. Cialdini's seminars and I said, this is amazing. He has 6 and it's now 7 principles to influence people. And all of his principles work really well. And the overarching theme is that if you ever get caught using them in sort of an unethical way, you're just going to blow all trust and it's all over. So don't ever do that. Okay. But the scarcity needs to be, so it needs to be real. Like, hey, we're bought enough stuff to put it on sale for a single day. This is the way we're going to do it. And then you really have to take it offline after that. And we saw Groupon was pretty big around that time. We're like, why don't we do a Groupon for grappling? And then there was another site out there too that was doing something like it. It seemed to be doing well. We said, why don't we use this one? And it was actually a great way to start because one of the biggest things when you set when you're an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things you have to look for is there demand. And so you'll watch Shark Tank all the time, okay? And this person will say, "Oh, I've been in business for 7 years, and last year we sold 37,000." It's like, well, guys, there's an obvious demand problem here, right? I mean, if there really were a lot of demand, they'd find you. And you're trying to do something, you're trying to sell something that no one wants. And from everything I've ever found, that's a hard problem to fix.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that was like, your
my philosophy. What's that? I'm sorry.
I said it's just interesting that was your first crack at it, and that kind of hit on all points. So
we've since, I won't get into all the different ones we've tried, and we've since tried a bunch of ideas outside of the grappling space, and I found that I'm not any more talented at finding niches that there's a lot of demand for than anyone else. I mean, we've had our share of stumbles too, and the reality is that you never really know what's going to sell until you try to put something on sale. And what I find, the surveys, they give you a little bit of clue here and there, but the only way to really know is to try to sell it. And let's say if you ever try to sell 100 things, right? And you can say, wow, one is clearly the best one. We'll sell that. Mm-hmm. But one huge mistake I've made in my life is, well, if we want to talk about jiu-jitsu, right? One of the biggest mistakes I ever made looking back was being way too competitive training in the gym, trying to win training, right? And so when I look back, because I know, Mike, you and I have this shared love. Oh, actually, the three of us have that shared love of jiu-jitsu. And when I look back on because I learned from jiu-jitsu that the very best people, they don't try to win training, they try to get better in training, which means that they're not afraid to try new things, because the people who try to win training are always going to go to their default A game, and they're going to keep using that A game against the people they can beat and the people they can't beat, and they're going to keep working harder, and they're going to get a little better, and they're going to get smaller and smaller marginal improvements, but there's this whole world of jiu-jitsu they're not trying. And the better guys, they put themselves into arm bars, they get tapped, no problem. They go back to it and they get better. They get better at a much wider skill set. And when I look back at what I've done wrong in business, is that I sat around talking about what I think would sell with my friends who had equally as little idea as I did about what would sell. I mean, the three of us could sit here right now and we could talk about, oh, what if we did this? What if we did that? And it's great to have those talks, but if you don't act on it and you don't put something on sale, even if it's an MVP, minimum viable product, we're not really going to know.
Absolutely. And we definitely take that philosophy as well. Like,
Yeah.
we want to spend days and days finding the perfect niche, and people have this idea that maybe from like their corporate career that the perfectionist approach is going to serve them well, when in reality it kind of doesn't. Like, you just have to throw things out, see what sticks. And so I guess on that note, you've built BJJ Fanatics to doing over 1 million Shopify orders. So what were some of like the stumbling blocks you ran into in the beginning, and what maybe was there like an
Same as
inflection?
everybody. I mean, it's a grind. It shouldn't be, I think Charlie Munger once said, it shouldn't be easy to start a business that's going to give your family generational wealth. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard. And we ended up having some great timing. There's some things that we got right. I mean, but if you can take a long-term view to everything, which we did a pretty good job of that. For instance, there's not really any, we work with over 1,500 athletes. We have over 5,500 instructionals on our platform. It's really not a whole lot of, there's really not a whole lot of disputes that we've ever had with people. I mean, we could try to get everything figured out. We treat everybody really fair, and what we're programmed to do is we ask everybody, hey, how can I help you out? And how do we further this relationship? So that's one thing we've done a pretty good job of. And same with the customers too. I'm helping, my wife has a juice bar. She's also an entrepreneur, and I was helping her with the reviews. And I went and I found, we actually get Google reviews. We had over 4,500 Google reviews, and it was something like 4.95% stars. We weren't even looking for them.
Really? How did you?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. No, I'll tell you this. Being in the martial art video business is a lot easier than serving juice, like what my wife does. But again, I mean, I think that we've taken a long-term view, and we've just taken the general attitude, hey, we're going to try not to fight with everybody. We're going to try to make everybody happy as best as we can, even if it means a few short-term losses.
Gotcha. And that's, that's one of the things that I think, if you were still doing that commercial real estate stuff, you're probably more restricted as to what you could do to make someone happy, to where.
Yeah, no, for sure. You can't, because if someone says, oh, I thought, can you rebuild the deck? Like, no, a deck is $50,000. We can't just do that. But if someone says, hey, I didn't like the video, can I give it to you for free? Can I return it even though I already watched it? Sure. Now, if they want to return 15 videos, we say, okay, we don't really believe you're an authentic person. We're going to let you return this one, and we're going to ask you not to buy it in the store. At a certain point, we will do that. It's not fair to us, it's not fair to the athletes. But we're trying to take a pretty, and the thing is, with selling low ticket items and having over 1 million orders, if one person's really upset of those 1 million orders, and just give them the money back, it's no big deal. But I mean, I think I've sold 45 houses in my life. I mean, all of them, there were a lot of money involved. You can't give someone, oh, you don't like the house, we'll just build you a new one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Hey, Mike, I have a pretty I don't know if this is like an exercise or something kind of fun I wanted to do with them.
Yeah.
So I got the BJJ Fanatics pulled up. I'm going to share it on my screen, and I kind of want to tell you, from my perspective, like, what I see in terms of the layout and the aspects of it. You tell me, like, maybe I'm missing something, or am I right?
You're looking on desktop on the phone because
see it
you always
here.
need to ask that question.
Yes. Well, I was going to do both. I was going to like shrink it down to show both versions.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
That was one mistake we made early. We always used to talk about the desktop version, and we realized 70% of the people are looking at it on their phones.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm looking right now. So that's a product page, and it looks like John is using a sweep on somebody. Is using a butterfly guard sweep.
Yeah. So one of the things that I see here, I want this to kind of benefit the audience and kind of. So I'm seeing scarcity at the top right here. I'm seeing like 3 main points again with the satisfaction guarantee. And you have some sort of reward system here, which is like an extra bonus. And the add to cart thing kind of way above the fold. We shrink it down to mobile, very, very similar, showing the reviews at the top and all that kind of stuff. So did you go through a lot of iterations before it looked like this? And is there anything that should be pointed out?
So, I mean, we're doing a lot of orders, okay? And at some point, when you're doing a lot of orders, you need to do some A/B split testing. And I'm guessing you guys have done some of that in your life.
Well, not really.
Well, we hired one company
to talk about
to
the
do
concept.
Yeah, we could talk about it. But basically, long story short, for what we do, we paid a company to do it, and for like a year, they couldn't get anything statistically significant to happen.
Sure.
But yeah.
That's actually the reality is that you're probably not going to have any huge wins. So I thought about this for a second. Let's say, for instance, you'll get these agencies that make some bad calls. Sorry, guys. In the background, we've had something horrible happen. Some dogs have walked in front of the house where my dogs live in. And my dogs are extremely upset about that.
No problem.
So think about this for a second. Let's say if someone said to me, hey, I can double the sales of BJJ Fanatics by making a few little tweaks. And they did. Is that good news or bad news?
Good.
I would assume good.
I would too.
Oh, we lost him.
Also, Joe, while we wait for him to reemerge, one thing you forgot to point out was they got the flash sale going on with the
oh yeah
stuff. They always have a sale going.
I didn't even I was going to ask about the ethical scarcity that they do with these flash sales.
Well, I guess it is ethical because after it ends, there's always another one that pops back in. But why don't we pause it? We'll wait for him to come back, and then he'll be able to rejoin us. Okay, we're back. So Michael is in the middle of telling us about his split testing journey and doubling the sales on BJJ Fanatics. So I'll let you continue.
What I'm saying is, if someone says they can double the sales on BJJ Fanatics, then I would give them the keys to it, and they do it. That means A, I'm going to make a lot more money. B, it also means that I'm probably a moron when it comes to managing sites because there was some little thing I missed in there that would allowed me to double sales. And like we would have had to miss something really basic, like there wasn't an add to cart button or something like that. It is not. So as you go further and further down the line, your wins from split testing are going to get smaller and smaller. And a lot of them aren't even going to be statistically significant, which is, it's bad news. You won't be making more money, but it's also good news in the way that you're doing a pretty good job. A good starting point for me is you look at some of the better sites that are out there and see what they're doing. And then start off, make it as good as you can, and then you start split testing. Like for instance, we've split tested button colors, as you see green one. The big needle movers are going to be what you put above the fold. Video auto playing versus not auto playing. As you see, it doesn't just auto play when you come on. That gets annoying to people. At least in our split test, but it might vary depending. But but again, I like to start with some of the better sites that are out there, and then you kind of go from there.
So the biggest win you found was the having the stuff high above the fold, like the add to cart. Did
I
you
mean,
actually?
those are going to be the big needle movers, right? I mean, what you put above the fold. So you want to make it as easy as possible from the order. We found that green buttons outperform red and blue as card.
By a lot?
I forget now.
Okay.
But they did. But the reality is, you see some people, split testing, they put blue. So who knows in the different niches.
Yeah.
Joe, go to the cart and the checkout. Curious what they're doing on there.
So we do Shopify.
Yeah, of course.
So people have told us that, I mean, if you use Shopify versus WooCommerce or something like that, it's going to be like a 10% difference in terms of revenue. And it was something when we switched over.
Okay, so you used to be on WordPress and then you switched over to Shopify.
Yeah.
Well, one thing Shopify does now that I think is really important is they've kind of gone to try to imitate Amazon with like the really easy checkout with the shop pay.
Yep.
So that's something everybody gets when they're using.
And then it's a one click, to put in the credit card details.
Yeah, but Joe, hit checkout because I want to point out something.
All right. I hope it doesn't populate my information. Let me just do it in like incognito or something.
It should.
Yeah, it might be my browser that would do that, but
no, but I don't think it would display your credit card.
But anyway, so Mike, what kind of brought you to the undertaking of making this whole book? Because I mean, I've gone through it. There's really there's no fluff. There's no background. It's just, hey.
Yeah. So I love statistics. I'm a big sports fan, and I love statistics and trying to get indicators. And there just weren't a whole lot of stats out there that I could see. So I want to know, all right, on average, what are people paying for a first sale? What are people paying for per click? What are people, and I didn't do any of this research, like the initial research myself. There's all these scholarly journals that are out there. And what I did was I looked through and I curated the information. But this is a heavy statistical approach to internet marketing, is knowing what, like, for instance, what's going on, what's in there. And I mean, just how do the big companies make decisions, and what are they typically seeing for data? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it does read like almost like a reference book, but
and that's how I meant it to be.
Yeah, I found it to be really helpful because, you can watch YouTube videos and this person's talking about, this sensationalized thing, or it's just, there's information everywhere. People have differing opinions. This is just straight to like all the different surveys, all the data. What does it say? And I just found it useful because I could take notes. Okay, I'm not doing this, or maybe I need to look back into this, and just kind of refine to like all the different elements.
I wrote this for me. I mean, as a founder, what's the information that I want to know? For instance, like, let's say I met a guy who was really killing it on TikTok with partnerships. And I asked him, what's he paying? Like, I had no idea. I mean, what are you paying these guys for commission? And I had no idea. Okay, let's find out what people are paying. I mean, what's a typical SMS open rate? What's a typical, I mean, what are typical open rates for email and that sort of thing? What are they? What are your best channels to be using? What are some of the best people on Amazon doing? How are they doing on Etsy and eBay and that sort of thing? What should you expect to be paying for pay per click on Meta versus Google and that sort of? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that blew me away that we're going to start doing is just the SMS marketing. Like, we just never got into it. We do, a lot of email stuff. We do a lot of Google ads, but we've never gone the extra step of getting the SMS approval and, having our coupon code sequences or our blasts of like campaigns go to SMS. And I mean, you're talking about 98% open rate. I think you described in the book. And it's like, I mean, it is true. Whenever I get a text, I open it, I see it versus email. So
I mean, at the end of the day, right? If you implemented an SMS campaign and you didn't even do it, like you paid someone to do it, would you have more money or would you have less money at the end of the year? And the answer is probably more.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was one of the things that you found really moved the needle when it comes to like either email or paid marketing, within
Um,
BJJ Fanatics?
yeah, one thing I really thought about. So we're selling. We're selling different. We're now selling a lot of merchandise now. We have BJJ Fanatics gear, which is often its own URL. I didn't want to take a chance at the merchandise. Selling merchandise is very different than selling videos, so we want to take like a different checkout process for it, and with the same customer list and that sort of thing. One thing I
Mm.
learned is that I studied comfort brand hoodies, and what they did was they started off with a penetration pricing strategy. I think about $65. Have you ever seen comfort brand hoodies? They're really thick streetwear hoodies. You'll see like they're probably a lot more popular with women.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I think they sold $700 million worth of hoodies last year.
I'm gonna pull it up
The
in a
reason
second.
I have an 11 and a 13-year-old, and they both love their comfort brand hoodies. And one of my jiu-jitsu rivals, his wife is a big comfort hoodie lady.
Mm.
Okay, and
Looks
so
comfortable.
they're comfortable, right? So it's kind of like a big, like an oversized, it's like a high fabric weight um, hoodie. And they now, I think they sell 120, $130 for the hoodies, but they start off with a penetration pricing of about in the $60 range. And I realized from doing that, you can charge whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And then they ended up going way up. But if you want to I always thought it was the biggest deal ever. What you decided for your pricing, and because you always have to decide what's going to work, and no one knows what the optimal pricing is. And it kind of gave me more free license to say, you know what, we can try. It's not like as if we try a pricing plan that we're always going to stick with that. We can go up, we can go down. It's our company.
So you
Right.
found that playing with the pricing
Yeah.
kind of had the biggest impact.
Yeah, and then like also just realizing about conversion rates and looking at where they are across the internet. Amazon actually has double-digit conversion rates on average. I didn't realize that, which is
Yeah.
multiple times higher than a Shopify site. With a Shopify site, you're doing real well at 3%. But different industries, different pricing. So it just gives you an idea to me about, okay, this is how this is where I am versus what people are seeing. So if you're paying for initial conversion, let's say you're selling rash guards and you're paying $5 per conversion, you got to know that you've hit the gold. You've hit the gold like no one else really does. Because typically what we're finding, initial sales are usually in the 40 to $50 range even for whatever you're selling. Right. So you need to price that in. So for instance, if you're selling a rash guard for $35 and it's costing you $45 to sell it, well, you can say, well, I'd never do that. You're going to lose money. But then the question is, well, what's lifetime value?
Yeah.
So
because then you got that SMS list. It seems like I don't know if you planned this from the beginning. I think this is something where we really, really struggle at this. We've been doing online business for like 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
And we've always kind of been, I guess you could say, all over the place.
Yep.
We've had multiple e-commerce stores that we've sold. We have an agency that is probably our fastest growing thing.
Yep.
We have,
the
our
thing
current
about agency is you really get to learn about what's selling, what's not.
Well, it's like a local business agency, so it's not really related to this.
Okay.
It's kind of we always fall into all these things, and we just end up doing probably too many things.
Sure.
But kind of the genius of what you've done here is you have the #1 video platform for BJJ.
Yeah.
You have a huge customer list, which you can now leverage for your gear site. So it's like, were you planning that from the beginning, or not really? Did you have that kind of foresight as to what it could be, or did you kind of just say, "Hey, let's"?
We wanted to make sure we were focused on the videos to get the most that we could possibly get out of it. Because if you look at, most of the billionaires you see out there, right? They made their money doing one thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, because I mean, the problem with, so you guys sound like you have entrepreneurial minds. I'm guessing your problem isn't too few ideas.
I guess our problem is we started it. We don't want to have real jobs anymore.
Yeah,
So it's like, what's the fastest path to that?
yeah, but then
yeah.
But then you start seeing things all the time. Like, oh, wait a minute, how tough could it be to open a dog daycare business? I mean, I'm thinking, right? And I mean, I think of that all the time too. And I mean, but the reality is that I mean, it's as entrepreneur. I find that entrepreneurs typically have too many ideas rather than too few, and that's certainly my issue.
Yeah.
So the question is, we held off. We want to get a really good idea, and the reality is that going into the jiu-jitsu even gear market, it's hard. I mean, like as far as we're selling over $1 million a year of gear, it's not, I mean, not printing money.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of costs. You have to buy inventory. There's ad spend. There's a lot going on. I mean, I think we'd have more money so far if we didn't do it. Now I think long term we're going to be good, but it's a process.
Yeah,
and honestly, it's probably a good thing that it is. I mean, it's hard. It's always hard.
To tie the two things together, I think about a big problem that we have is we'll do these initial things, they'll work, they'll kind of get to a plateau, and then we'll kind of say, okay, like we're at the top of this kind of mountain. We could do some things, but it might have diminishing returns, and then we leave that, and then we go on to something else. So, have you run into those like plateau situations with BJJ Fanatics?
All
And
done.
like, was there something that you found? Hey, like,
yeah,
maybe...
I'd love to be doing more camps, and we can't. I mean, as far as it's hard to scale. Not a lot of people want to pay $500 to go away for a weekend.
Right, but yeah, that's kind of again away from your core product. So even when it comes to like selling the instructionals,
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
you
the reality is that there's only.
sales.
I mean, I think our Facebook rep told us we have 90% of the online instructional market,
Mhm.
and so I mean, which is great. I mean, but the problem is, I mean, everybody knows, I mean, we're a big fish in a small pool because there's about 5 million people in the world we think that do jiu-jitsu, and only a small percentage of them are going to want to pay for a supplement to help them learn jiu-jitsu off the mat. So I mean, we've done a great job with that, but how much bigger can we grow? We don't know.
Right. So I mean, is there anything particular you've done to even like grow the pond?
That's hard because now, I mean, we try to get out there and meet as many people as we can. We have all the big influencers, so we try to partner with as many people to make videos as we can do profitably. But at some point, it's hard. For instance, like you can't learn jiu-jitsu from a video. You can only supplement your jiu-jitsu. I mean, like we can't. If you don't know what half guard is, it's not going to be that useful to you to get a video. You have to sort of feel it yourself and say, wow, this was incredible. How do I get even better? And so what we did, we decided to get I see the best people in the world on your screen right now going through it. And how do we get those people to now and turn this into a platform where you're going to learn from them? We've done that. And so now the question is getting the best creators in the world to keep making videos with us. But so now we have that process in place. Now we're saying, okay, how do we make the best gear in the world? And it's hard.
Mm. So what is your advice to, I guess, someone that say they're, no matter what, I guess, sector they're in, if they're in e-commerce or whatever, do you have advice in terms of like accepting the plateau that you're at or trying to, pivot to like a shoulder thing where like you're selling the gear?
I mean, anyone who's going to give you any broad advice like that is, I don't know how you would. For instance, like you could say, well, I mean, for instance, we've thought of the jiu-jitsu industry. Okay, how about we make videos in every single industry? And we've tried. The reality is that jiu-jitsu is a great one because it's video transmits information well, and you're selling it to people who are going to use the information themselves. Like think about football and basketball. Most competitive football and basketball players are kids, and they aren't really too interested in watching instructional videos. And we know that because we've tried it.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, so I mean, it's just the reality is that it's really a whole lot of trying stuff, and I mean, going with build, trying doing as small a test as possible, seeing if it fails or passes, if it gives you any indication. Once you find a hyper seller, you latch onto it.
Mhm.
And for instance, like when we sell, people ask us, okay, you sell rash guards. We still do a lot of daily deals. How much do they sell in a day? So the one you have up there, I mean, it reminds me, like some of them are just hyper sellers, and some of them like no one wants. We had one yesterday that just no one wanted, and some of them people absolutely go crazy over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of testing done when it comes to the sales approach? Because
Yeah.
obviously,
At the end of the day, what you're trying to do, okay, is you're trying to put a bunch of stuff out there, keep what works, and get rid of what doesn't. I think it's really that simple.
well, what I mean is obviously right now 47% off all videos. Almost every month there's a different, coupon code to cycle through.
Yeah.
I guess
So
where did that
every day, and what we did, we found is that as we put more stuff on sale, we sold more, and we went for, hey, let's have one sale day a month, and that went crazy. All right, let's have 4 sale days a month. Wow, we sold a lot more. Should we try 8? Sold more. Do we do 16? Like, oh, we can't be crazy. Don't do that. That's half the days. We tried it. We sold more. Do we have a sale every day? Can you do that? Well, it's hard. And so what we found, right, is that from the analytics, people come to our site 1.4 times a month. They might, like, that's the other thing too, is that you think of all your customers as one person, right? But the reality is that you can say, oh, they love this video, they hate it. But the reality is with most videos, almost all of them didn't buy it, but just a few more did. You know what I mean? So realize these are all completely different people with their own thoughts, their own lives. They don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's something
Yeah.
that a lot of our students struggle with immensely is like making these changes and worrying about what people are going to think, and if it's like, are
Yeah,
they emailing too
they're gonna
much?
call me a scammer. I mean, is it real? Like, if you're giving selling people goods and not sending it to them is a scam. Having a differing level of sale all the time seems to me to be a pretty victimless crime.
I
Mm.
mean, listen, I know you're doing it, and I still fall victim to it. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's honestly, it's inspired again a lot of what we do because
yeah,
you know,
good.
yeah, we've done a lot more sales now on our own store because we see, hey, like this
Yeah,
is what you're doing, and yeah, it's definitely something we take notes of. I always copy
awesome.
like what type of sale you're doing. So there's like a dog days of summer sale. Okay, good idea. I'll do that. So um, yeah,
I will say this: that if we one thing that we would hold up so well on is that the site anniversary sale. Sometimes that will be the month that we okay, we can't think of anything this month. Let's call it the site anniversary. and
yeah,
which technically, I mean, so we've messed with that a little bit, but for the most part, there's a reason to. But sometimes it gets hard to think of reasons.
yeah. I actually did one. It was like a founder's birthday sale.
We have that. We have that. Did you copy us?
I don't know. I think
But funny because Bernard and I were born a day apart. And our
okay.
birthday's next week, actually.
And I've actually done it for Build Assets Online as well, like this this podcast where when we
Yeah.
sell our courses. It was Joe's birthday, so I did Joe's birthday sale, and that crushed. And so, talking with the email marketing companies, they say, yeah, like people just need a reason.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Give
you're
me an
just
excuse.
creating that scarcity, you're creating a
What do they do?
reason.
They buy emotionally and they justify rationally. Well, it's Joe's birthday. How can I not buy it? What am I going to be rude?
Yeah.
I know you. I don't know. Did you said you have to go right now, or you have 5 minutes left? I know you said three of.
We got a few more minutes. My wife's picking up the kids.
Okay, I wanted to ask real quick about this. How big of a part of this? What I have on my screen is now you have like a point reward system. How have you found that to play
Oh,
into what you
no.
guys are doing?
I'm not a reward guy, right? But I have a funny story. So one time a guy got forwarded to me and I ended up on the phone with him. That doesn't typically happen. But he said, "Hey, I tried to buy this video and it didn't work, and it's just really upsetting." I said, "Okay, well, I'm not the guy who straightens this out. And while I'm on the phone with you, how long have you been training?" He said, "Oh, 9 months." I said, "Great." I said, he said, "I'm a brown belt." I said, "Okay, you're a brown belt. You've been training for 9 months." Oh yeah. Which, I mean, if you know jujitsu, that's really not typical. I mean, in jujitsu would typically, a jujitsu brown belt, you're getting those. I mean, maybe some absolute prodigy could get it in 4 years, but more like 7, 8, something like that. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I mean, I've been training for 10 years. I'm still a
Yeah.
blue belt, but I've
Right.
had a lot of I've had a lot of time off though. But
Yeah, those are people. But obviously, a 9 month brown belt, that's not a real thing. So I said to
yeah.
him, "Okay, you've been." And he heard the hesitation in my voice. I said, "What do you train?" He said, "Oh, I train at so and so gym in Texas." I said, "Okay," and he said, hold on. I'm not a jujitsu brown belt. I'm a jujitsu white belt. I only have 2 stripes, but I'm a brown belt in BJJ Fanatics points." I'm like, okay, this meant something to this guy. This meant
Wow.
something to this guy. Okay, all right.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I see that. I see that here now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he
'cause
must have
I
just been.
buy a lot of stuff from you guys. I never even look at this type of thing. I'm not a
Yeah.
rewards guy.
Yeah, I mean, we give incentive to watch videos. I mean, it's small, but the reality is that of our hyper buyers, guess what they have in common? They watch a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Mm,
So we're trying to do anything like if you bought a video, we're trying to remind you to watch it.
mm.
That's true. And yeah, any way to get people back onto the platform as well.
So if you give away a free product, what you want to do is give them awesome content, but don't give them 60 hours. Because then they'll say, "Wow, that's incredible." But once I'm done with this, I'll think about buying. I mean, give them 45 minutes. And make it incredible. Make it like, "Oh my god, that was really really good," but you don't have to give them something for free that's going to take up that's going to give them to make them busy for 2 months.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, cool. I know we're running low on time here, so any final words of wisdom to people, and if you want to plug your book and
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
what I would say is my book is really statistics heavy. I wrote it for me. I want to know what people like. What are executives or what are people making marketing decisions? Founders, what are they thinking? What are some baseline metrics they can think about when they're making internet marketing decisions? How are you running up against the baseline?
perfect. And that's called the e-commerce data playbook.
Yes.
It is on Amazon, so
Yep.
everyone go check that out.
We'll leave it in the description as well.
Awesome, guys.
We will do that. So yeah, appreciate your time, Michael, and
Thanks so much. Great to talk to you.
yeah, absolutely. So we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. You can take it or leave it, but as always, take it easy. See you in the next one.